Equipped History, where two best friends who are pretty ill-equipped tell you about history. And I'm joined with Morgan.
Hi!
I don't know if that was a sentence, but...
I'm joining you. Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining. How are you?
I am good. It's been a very long day. I've got slightly caffeinated mint tea to help me power through.
I have ginger and lemon, and I definitely drank some caffeinated stuff earlier.
That sounds delightful.
It is delightful. It's got a little zing to it.
I love me good little zing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do
you, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my brain is very mushy today, so
Same.
I'm feeling very goosey today.
Oh, we're goosing. This is a straight goosing
we are
episode.
Straight goosing.
Well, let me tell you why my brain's mush. Because the kids were out of school yesterday, and I thought I'd be a good mom and take the kids to the park.
Aww.
And I met up with a friend, and our kids are out playing. We're constantly watching them, doing like the, good parent thing. Mm-hmm. We're watching and talking, and tell the kids we need to go. And our son decides that right when we needed to leave, that it would be a good idea to climb like a spider monkey up the side of the playset and parkour himself off the side of the second level of the playset. I didn't really see exactly what happened. I don't know how high up he got, but it did result in a fractured arm.
Oh no, again?
Again.
Another one?
Arm.
Oh,
another
man.
One. So he's in a splint right now. He's going to get a full cast next week. And so last time he had to have it on for like 6 weeks. I have no idea how long he's going to have it this time, but the apples don't fall far from the tree, just constantly breaking.
And they hit hard.
Our son. Oh man, it's always his left side. Like mine, I keep hurting my right side.
Yeah.
This is the third broken bone he's had on his left side, and he's 6.
Yeah, that's quite a track record so far.
Yeah.
Giving you a run for your money.
Yeah, and the doctors were like, "Okay, so maybe no more parkour." And he went, "All right, I won't until my arm heals."
Has not learned that lesson one bit. He's like, well, I'm not dead, so it's fine.
Like, it'll heal. It's fine.
Yeah.
He's such a trooper, though.
Oh, bless him.
I know. So we spent, and it happened right before flag football practice.
Oh, no.
So he doesn't even get to play flag football now. Because he has a broken arm.
Those are the consequences of your actions.
I do feel really bad because he stood up and I was like, comforting, telling him take some breaths. Can you move it? Can you wiggle your fingers? And in that, like, all the adrenaline's rushing. So yeah, at that moment, he was moving his arm and wiggling his fingers. And I'm like, all right, I think you're okay. Let's just go home. And then I asked him to move it again. And it was like, his little arm was shaking.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, no, that's a problem.
Oh, poor baby.
Thankfully, it's not like a full break. It's just a fracture over the elbow. Because he stuck his arms out to catch himself. But that's how you do it.
Yep, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's how you do it.
Well, I understand why your brain is mushy today.
Brain is mushy, yeah. Yeah.
That's quite an ordeal to go through. I'm glad he's okay.
Me too. Yeah, he's you should have seen him. He's like, I'm kind of useless now. And I'm like, no, you're not. You still have a good, completely well-working arm. He's trying to get out of stuff now.
Oh, I can't clean my room. I have a broken arm.
Like, oh, you can play that Switch really well.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
With both hands.
What a turd.
You can't blame him, though.
No. He can have a couple days of that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's just been kind of vegging out.
Oh, yeah.
So
he can. Yeah. He has a broken arm.
He deserves it.
It's fine.
Yeah, he's going back to school tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure they have a field trip tomorrow, so, like, there goes another day.
Oh, man.
All right, well, you want to get into our topic.
Let's
today.
do it!
Yeah. It's 1952 in Los Angeles, California. A local television station is hurrying to ready the cameras and lights in the last few minutes before they are ready to be live on air. Why does the lighting look like this?
I'm not sure. Gerald, where's the lighting guy? It was fine yesterday. I'm on it, Fred.
Crew and equipment continue to move around until finally everything is in place, and with seconds to spare, the hosts of the show take their spots on set. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, live!
Welcome, everyone, to Hollywood on Television. We're joined, of course, by no other than Eddie Albert!
Hello, all. Hope you're having a great evening.
And, of course, I'm Betty White. We have a lovely show lined up for you all today. First, let's talk about what's going on in Hollywood today.
Betty White was a pioneer for all women in television and was truly an amazing person through and through. Today, we're going to explore her life and career and how she became the national treasure that we all know her to be.
Aw, I love Betty White.
I do too. If you don't like Betty White, like, disrespectfully fuck off. Like, because she's a wonderful human being. And I love her even more now.
I grew up, one of my mom's favorite shows is The Golden Girls, and that means I grew up on The Golden Girls.
Yes, I love The Golden Girls.
And anytime I think of The Golden Girls, the first person that pops up in my brain is Betty White.
Yes, 100%. And I really only know her from, organically, from The Golden Girls, and that's because The Golden Girls was from 1985 to 1992, so it was right before we were born.
And it was on reruns all the time.
And it was all the time. I remember sitting at, like, the condo in Florida watching reruns of The Golden Girl at, like, 8 years old and relating to these women who are like, portrayed 60-year-old women.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Me too, girl. Me too.
Yeah, I loved them. And, but I did not know how freaking much she was on television, in radio. Like, she did all of it.
That's really awesome.
All of it. I know. I love her. Okay. I kind of let the universe pick this when I was at Books A Million. And I found this magazine all about her.
Aww.
And I bought it.
Aww.
So this is how I picked it.
Very nice.
Yes. The magazine quoted I'm quoting the magazine here. It's her ability to reinvent herself time and time again made her one of pop culture's most beloved icons. So she had 80 years. I mean, she worked until she died. So she was in the spotlight for 80 years. And she referred to the beginning of television as, like, the golden age of television, because it was all new. You could kind of do whatever you want. You had, like, more creative freedom. So let's get into her early life.
Okay.
She was born January 17th in 1922 in Oak Park, Illinois. Her father was an electrical engineer and travel salesman, and her mother was a homemaker. Well, like most women were back then. Her father would build radios on the side to make a little extra money, because during the Great Depression, they ended up moving to California to try to make money. So he would build these radios and trade them for food and other goods because money was tight.
Right.
And one of the videos I watched said that they even traded for pets sometimes. They would trade radios to get, like, a dog.
Really?
Yes.
That's very interesting.
her love of animals really stemmed from her parents. And she said that, I don't remember exactly, but basically they had a cat when she was born. And her mom was like, if Toby didn't like you, you were going to have to go find a different family to live with because we love this cat so much.
Oh.
It was super cute. She quoted, "I was there when television first started. We grew up together." And she was not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1926, she went to elementary school, later graduated high school, and in 1939, at the ripe age of 17, her and her friends sang a song from The Merry Widow They Sang on an experimental Los Angeles channel. And by experimental, I mean they were on the 5th story of the Packard Automobile Factory, and they broadcast it to the 1st story of the building.
Oh, wow.
Just to kind of feel it out. And her parents watched from the bottom floor. And that was really like, it really helped her realize that she liked entertaining. She liked that kind of vibe. Originally, she did want to be a forest ranger.
That's badass.
Or a zookeeper. She is a badass, but women weren't allowed to be those things back then. So she was like, fine, I'll be an actress. And she had a knack for entertaining. And before the war, did a little bit of work in radio and theater, and was even a model for a time.
Of course she was. She's drop dead gorgeous.
Yes. Yes, she is.
Look at those dimples.
I know. And like, look at this.
Ah, divine.
I love her. So World War II hits.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Betty do? She volunteers for the American Women's Voluntary Service.
Fuck yeah.
Because of course she does.
Fuck yeah.
And Betty's driving a truck in the Hollywood Hills.
It's not funny. That's so fucking awesome.
I know. And it's funny because she's just, I don't know why, but it's just, she's an amazing woman. And she's just out there driving trucks.
Yeah.
So I'm already bumping the desk, y'all. So sorry. I'm getting jazzed up. We're goosing. Okay. So Betty's driving this truck to the Hollywood Hills area to deliver supplies to the soldiers that were barracked there. And on the weekends, she would hang out at the rec halls and dance and play games and kind of entertain the soldiers. And she referred to her service in the war as, quote, a strange time and out of balance with everything. So I think she did it because she felt obligated to, like, she knew she needed to help. But it didn't quite fit, who she was or what she wanted to be doing. But she met a man named Dick Barker, and the two became engaged in 1942. Okay. And then he went off to become a fighter pilot in the war.
Oh, shit.
He did survive.
Okay.
He came back, and the two married July 7th of 1945.
Well, good for them.
Yes. So they were engaged for about 3 years, and then they got married. And then the worst thing happened. She had to move to a rural chicken farm in Ohio. She hated it.
I get, she wants to be a star, and she moves to Ohio?
On a chicken farm.
A chicken farm.
As an animal lover.
Yeah.
Absolutely adores animals. And you'll see that throughout her entire life. She always has a pet. Always advocating for animals.
Yeah.
And, living on this chicken farm was a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
She was quoted recalling her time there. Bell Center was a chicken farm. We were living with his mom and dad and they would send me out to kill a chicken to bring in for dinner.
Oh, no.
Because that's, like, normal for them.
Right, they're on a farm.
That.
That's typical, but
she's not having a good time.
No, especially, like, she sounds more of, like, a city gal, and she loves animals, and it just sounds like her worst nightmare. They
were divorced by the end of the year.
Oh, my God. It's not surprising.
I don't blame her. And she went back to LA to start her acting career in early 1946. So she said in an interview in 2010, quote, "I would not have married my first husband. I married my first husband because we wanted to sleep together. It lasted 6 months, and we were in bed for 6 months." The marriage with Barker. I know. The marriage with Barker helped me appreciate the real thing when it came along.
Oh my God, she's so funny.
I know. She's literally the best. I mean, honesty right there. Okay. She's down a husband. She's divorced. She's living back in LA. And she started looking for work in movie studios, but she was turned down. You want to know why? They said fucking Betty White wasn't photogenic. Again, how is that not photogenic?
I was about to say, like, it was probably, like, she was not as thin as they wanted or something stupid like that.
Yeah, probably. She was opinionated. She was funny. She was outgoing. Funny back then was not a good look on a woman.
Yeah.
In the public eye. Like, it just was not. And she's hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she went to she's like, I still want to do the entertaining thing. So she went to radio instead. She's like, you don't need to see my face on the radio.
Yeah.
So she would do anything. Sometimes she worked for free just for the publicity. She, like, made background noises. She did anything they needed her to do. And then in 1947, she met a man named Lane Allen. And he was an actor turned talent agent. They got married in 1947, and she said, quote, "He was a theatrical agent, and we had a couple of very good years. But, unfortunately, he wanted her to stop working and focus on having a family with him.
Yeah.
And she did not want to stop working. During this time, she played girl behind the hotel desk on a show called Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Okay.
Between 1948 and 1949. Lane Allen and Betty got divorced in 1949. So, while she played girl behind the hotel desk, a man named Al Jarvis found out about her. This is going to be her first taste into television.
Okay.
And Al Jarvis was a radio disc jockey. He asked her if she wanted to be the, quote, Girl Friday. I don't know what that means exactly, but that's exactly what it said, Girl Friday.
Was Friday the name of, like, a character?
I have no idea.
Do you want to be the Girl Friday?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Oh. I have no idea. I don't know 1940s speak.
I don't either. But it was a variety show called Hollywood on Television.
Okay.
And this is when we see our skit happening.
Mm.
So it would air 5.5 hours, 6 days a week.
Each time?
But yeah.
Oh my God.
And paid her $200 a week. So let me see what $200 1949 today. That's like $2,600 a week.
Honestly, like, so she worked about 30 hours a week on the show, right?
Yeah.
She was making more than $86 an hour. Or about
Listen,
$86 an hour.
It.
Yeah.
She was only making $5 a week on Tom, Dick, and Harry.
That's quite a jump.
She went from $5 to $200 a week.
Oh, boy.
So she did that. And this show would have like everything where she would sing, she would perform. They had performers, they had guests, but they had to like fill 5.5 hours, 6 days a week. So definition of a variety show.
Mm-hmm.
2 years after they started that show, Jarvis left for another station, and she took over as the host of the show, making her the first female talk show host.
Badass.
And she quoted saying, "No script, no anything. It was like going to television college. It was wonderful."
That's like improv on crack. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's probably why she was so good at it.
Seriously. And she said whoever came to town would come through our show. It was the only game in town, and you'd meet everybody. It became very successful.
That's really awesome.
Yes. And to fill showtimes, she would sing and do sketches, like I said. And she had one reoccurring sketch that the audience absolutely loved, where she played a housewife named Elizabeth. And the audience loved it so much that Dawn Feddersen, the station manager, convinced her to try it out as a standalone 30-minute sitcom, becoming Life with Elizabeth.
Okay.
I watched one of these episodes. I meant to watch, 5-10 minutes of it to get 20 minutes later, I'm still watching it. It's great. I love it. It's all black and white.
That's awesome.
It's so cute. So, Life with Elizabeth aired between 1953 and 1955. And her, Feddersen, and George Tibbles, who was a writer, developed the show, and the three later formed a production company named Bandy Productions. Do you want to know how they got that name, Bandy?
How?
She named it after her dog, Bandit.
Aww.
I know.
Bandit.
But she was one of the first female producers in Hollywood.
Fucking badass.
I know.
Trailblazer.
And seriously, she's just doing shit.
Yeah, she's like...
Nobody can tell Betty White no.
No.
Honestly. So, the show was shot in front of a live audience, and the budget for each show was $1.95.
Nice.
I think we use more electricity to make this podcast every episode than $1.95. So, the audience sat above the stage. It was a very simple stage, but sat above the stage, and Betty actually was known to climb a ladder and get up there with the audience and do like a warm-up to get the crowd energized and stuff. Oh my God. Yeah. She's just out there doing shit.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was around this time that she got her first shot at network TV.
Oh.
So she's going from the small local TV show to NBC coming to her. Yes. So Pat Weaver was the president of NBC at the time. And he saw her on Hollywood on television and was extremely impressed. And I don't know if it's the way that the source wrote it or what, but apparently he came up to her and was like, do you think you could handle a 30-minute segment 5 days a week?
She's like, bitch, I've been doing this for 5.5 hours every day.
Literally, she initially thought, quote, what am I going to do with the rest of the time? I've been working 5.5 hours a day, 6 days a week, only half an hour a day. What do we do with the rest of the day? But she said yes.
Yeah.
She's a badass. She's such a badass. Oh God, I love her. And this was kind of the first iteration of the Betty White Show.
Okay.
And that was a daytime talk show that aired in 1954 that she produced. And she also hired a female director for the Betty White Show, which was unheard of at the time.
Fucking badass.
Yes. She was quoted saying, "I was thrilled to be one of the first female producers. And Betty Turbeville," I hope I said that right, Betty Turbeville was one of the first female directors. That was so before the women's movement that I don't think we even thought of it. I never even thought of it as being a different gender, you know? It was just, you did whatever the job was and whatever job you could get. So,
that's amazing.
Awesome. So she's propelling herself.
She's so feminist, she doesn't even think about it.
No, she's just out there doing shit. So great. And so now we're really seeing her in her peak. She's got the show. She's doing all sorts of things. During this time, she is guesting on talk shows and game shows. I feel like the 60s was peak game show TV.
They're all over. The 60s were lousy with game shows, I feel.
Yeah, they were everywhere. There were so many, and she was on like 50 of them.
That's amazing.
She loved game shows, and she accredits that to her parents too. She was an only child, so her and her parents would play a lot of games together. Aww, like board games.
That's so cute. It sounds like she just had like a really good life growing up, which unfortunately you don't hear that much about.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she had a really good foundation from the start and just like skyrocketed.
Yeah, I never heard her say anything bad about either of her parents. Just it was great. Now, I didn't read her autobiography because I didn't have time, but I want to. So, now we're looking at Mr. Allen Ludden. And I think it's really funny that she married Elaine Allen and then married an Allen Ludden. But so, Betty White met the love of her life, Allen, on the show Password, which was a game show.
Okay.
Where Ludden was the host. So White became a regular contestant, and she was appearing on, she kept coming back. So Ludden had, just a few years prior, lost his late wife to cancer.
Oh.
And was actually kind of dating, as Betty put it, going steady with someone else. And then Betty lived in California, and Ludden lived in New York.
Ah, I see.
So, Ludden immediately was like, I'm gonna marry this woman. Like, just immediately. And they seem so... If you look at pictures of them together, can you scroll down and look at a picture of them together? Because it is the cutest thing you will ever see.
Aw, look at him giving her a smooch.
Look at the way she looks at him.
Aw, that is really sweet.
I know. So, but Betty's been divorced twice. And she's been single for like a decade now. She's like, I like this.
Yeah.
Ludden proposed a few times, and she said no every time. Because of course she did. But he wasn't giving up, and he bought a gold and diamond wedding band and wore it on a chain around his neck so she would see it. And, quote, for 3 months he wore that damned ring on a chain around his neck so I couldn't miss it. It got full of soap and suntan oil, but he vowed he would only take it off for one reason.
Aww.
And eventually she did say yes.
Okay.
After about a year.
Okay.
And at the time, Ludden had 3 kids from his late wife. And they were David 14, Martha 12, and Sarah 10 when they got married.
Okay.
She also gained 2 poodles, which I thought was cute that they mentioned. Willie, their names are Willie and Emma. So she became a stepmother, and she said it was super scary, and I think the middle child had some reservations.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah, you lose your mom to cancer, and now your dad has a new wife. That's hard. Even
that's hard.
If, I'm sure Betty was the best stepmother she could be, but she didn't know what she was doing. She was single to having 3 kids all of a sudden, basically, and these kids are like, who's this lady? So.
Yeah. And eventually they all had a great relationship.
Good.
They got close, and they stayed close up until she died.
Aww.
Oh God, is this going to be a crying episode?
I don't know. I'm not feeling in a crying mood. I just think that's really sweet.
It is sweet. Okay, good.
Did she have any biological children?
She did not.
Okay.
And we have a quote about that a little later.
Okay.
But she made that choice. She did not have any kids.
Okay.
So cool. Yeah. So in 1980, Alan was diagnosed with stomach cancer.
Oh, no.
And he died a year later on June the 9th, 1981, at the age of 63.
Oh.
And it was just a few days before their 18th anniversary.
Oh, that's so sad.
So at 59, Betty and the family buried him next to his father in Graceland Cemetery. Betty never remarried, stating that, quote, if you've had the best, who needs the rest?
Oh.
I know. This is the only part where I'm like,
oh.
And apparently, in one of my sources, she was said to say that people would ask her about Alan all the time. And eventually she was like, why are you asking me all these questions about my late husband? And someone said, we just love the look on your face when you talk about him.
Oh, oh, my heart.
I know. Oh. Damn, right in the heart.
Okay, I felt like a little tear well up behind one of my eyes.
Just the one.
Just one. Get back up in there, tear.
Yeah, I know. We can't cry. Betty wouldn't have wanted it.
No.
So she's still in her peak right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he passed in 1981. And so kind of I just gave the whole love story, and now we're going to kind of scooch back.
Okay.
Just a hair. So on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, it was a sitcom.
Yes.
And on this show, it had already been playing for a while, and what? Your father's over there. Jeez. Okay. Okay. So Mary Tyler Moore and Betty White were like best friends.
I love that.
I do too. And they would go on like double dates together. That her and their husbands and everything. So that and so Betty White, that went the character that she played, and of course I forgot to write down the character's name. She was written to be played by someone like Betty White. So basically they were like, I be sweet like Betty White is or whatever, but they didn't actually want Betty White on there because they were afraid that if Betty blew it, it would be weird between the friends because they were such close friends. So they tried multiple times to fill this position, and they couldn't find anybody quite Betty enough. So eventually she was the lady who was supposed to, fill this position was like, I'm calling Betty.
You wrote a role for Betty White. Get Betty White in here.
Call freaking Betty White. So Betty called Mary and was like, guess who's going to be on your show next week? But I'm just trying to imagine Betty White playing this man-hungry, sardonic, spicy... Oh, Sue Ann Nivens was her name. The character was known as the neighborhood nymphomaniac. So, apparently, it's like, she could have been a very hated character. Because she's she's sleeping with people's husbands, and she is snarky and kind of bitchy. But Betty brought this, like, kind of nuance to it, to where you can see that underneath all that, they said you can just see that she's just a lonely woman. So she brought that out in this character. And
that's what a damn good actress does.
Exactly. And she also said, quote, "She is not only a bitch, but a nympho. I've been waiting my whole life for a part like this."
That's so funny.
Sweet Betty White, I don't think was as sweet as we think she
was. No. She was a whole ass woman.
Yeah, and she said it was a refreshing departure from the roles that she'd played.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
sure.
The nice housewife or, something like that.
Yeah.
And this role, she won 2 back-to-back Emmys for this role.
Hell yeah.
In 75 and 76. Because of course she did.
That's awesome.
Now I have a note that says, read page 36 in the magazine. So, okay. It's not a lot. So when the show was wrapping up, she was supposed to only stay on this show for maybe like every now and then.
Yeah.
But she became a regular character on the show because she was just that well received. And when the show taped its final episode, she said, "When the last week arrived and we gathered, as always, on Monday morning, the atmosphere was so tangible, you can almost see it in the air. By showtime, however, we had ourselves pretty well in hand. We even made it to the final scene with flying colors. It wasn't until Ed Asner, as Lou Grant, said, 'I treasure you people,' that everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Aww.
We knew we would all see each other, but something very precious would never be again."
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Aww.
So it's also said that Sue Ann Nivens changed Betty's career. That sickly sweet image I'd grown up with expanded to another context. She was the happy homemaker who could fix anything, cook anything, clean anything, sleep with anyone who would stand still. And I underlined this one because Alan was alive during this time.
Yeah.
So people kept asking Alan, her husband, how closely Betty actually was to this character. And he'd say, "They're really the same character, except Betty can't cook."
That's awesome. So it sounds like she was a hot shit and he could give it right back to her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if you talk about this in your episode, but I've heard that when Betty White was auditioning for the Golden Girls, she originally auditioned for the role of Blanche Devereaux.
I am about to get into that. You are right. Miss Golden Girls know it all.
I love the Golden Girls, okay?
Oh my God. Can we have a Golden Girls, like, marathon?
Yeah.
Because it's been so long since I've watched it. It's really sad.
Still so funny.
Seriously,
I only ever watch it when I'm at my mom's house because she has it playing on one of her TVs 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time I'm in town.
It's amazing.
Let's have a
Okay, thank God,
marathon.
yes. Thank you. I still know most of the song. Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, Okay. I'm done. Okay. So, she was Golden Girls. Okay. Golden Girls. 1985 we are in. Also.
Okay, Yoda. Sorry. 1985 we are in. I'm so sorry.
Mush brain is. Okay. I have a hot take for a second.
Okay.
I feel like after Betty turned like 40 years old, the style of the times made her look older.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see what she would look like if... Can someone Photoshop this? I want to know what she would look like if she was, you know, in her, 50s during the Golden Girls times-ish, and wore what, like, a 50-year-old would wear now. I want to see what that looks like. Like, the hair kind of straight down, you know?
Yeah, like the modern look.
Yeah, I want to see her in, like, a modern look.
Because, I mean, I'm in my 30s, and I work with women who are a variety of ranges, but a lot of women who are middle-aged, and they just dress, you know, blouses, slacks, skirts, dresses, you know.
Yeah.
Not like the robes and robes and robes that the actors wore on the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
There was not, like, there may have been like 2 form-fitting dresses on that entire show, and I think why can't I remember? Rue McClanahan wore both of them.
She would. Okay. All right, so back to the Golden Girls. She was originally offered the role as Blanche on the Golden Girls because of her role in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Mm-hmm. Because she already played someone very similar to Blanche. Mm-hmm. And Rue McClanahan was offered the role of Rose.
That's so interesting.
It is. It would have been a totally different show.
I think so,
had they played that. But one of the people, I couldn't get if it was like a producer or somebody that was involved with the making of the show, was afraid that if they stayed in those roles, because Rue McClanahan had played someone who was very similar to Rose on All in the Family as Maude. Mm-hmm. So
I remember that.
They were afraid that it would almost just feel like a off-brand Maude and an off-brand Sue Ann.
Yeah.
So they were like, someone suggested, why don't y'all just switch? Get to play a different part, get to play a different role, and it won't feel like you're just trying to do the exact same thing over again.
Yeah.
So that's how they ended up in the roles that they're in. And
I think...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was going to say, I think that was such a great idea because they're both so iconic in those roles. Like, I literally cannot imagine them swap. Like, Rue McClanahan did such a great job as Blanche. Like, the sultry, promiscuous... lady.
I literally cannot imagine her as Rose.
I can't either. And Betty White did such a great job as the dumb shit that Rose Nyland was.
She...
funny as shit.
And it's like, you can tell her entire, her face changes. Her mannerisms change. Everything changes. I was watching a video of her accepting an Emmy for her role, and one lady was like, now what would Rose say if she was winning this Emmy? And you could tell just in the snap of a finger, all of her mannerisms changed, and she was Rose all of a sudden. Just
that's amazing.
Yes, talking about Minnesota and
St. Olaf.
Yes. It's so freaking funny. So the biggest show at the time was The Cosby Show. Mm-hmm. And Upon its first airing of The Golden Girls beat The Cosby Show and then just stayed there. Just, yes.
I mean, it's such a good show.
It's so good. And her role on The Golden Girls as Rose was her biggest role yet. Had 7 successful seasons, won her an Emmy in 1986, and she was nominated every other year that the show is out.
Because she was amazing.
Yes. And I think one of the things that really helped The Golden Girls is that they had the 4 main actresses were incredible, talented, smart, professional women. And B. Arthur said they were able to adjust the script as needed. So they didn't just have to stick with whatever and then, they were able to talk it through and make it better. And because of that, the show's better. Betty White said, quote, "A situation comedy about old women? What is that? I think it changed a lot of the thinking and opened the way for a lot of older women." Because I feel like in Hollywood, you get to a certain age and sorry, you can't act anymore. You're too old.
Or if you do act, you're delegated to like motherly or grandmotherly roles. Like, you're no longer a protagonist in the story. You're a background character that is only provided a nurturing role, which is it's still an issue. Like, how many, like, even just think of like movies or TV shows besides The Golden Girls, how many pieces of media can you think of where a woman who is older, like past middle age, is the protagonist in a story?
None that I can think of, honestly.
I can only think of The Golden Girls. Like, it was revolutionary. It represented a group of people that were not represented in media. For basically single women all living together. Like, 20 years prior, that would have been considered a harem, like...
Yeah, and when we get old, I don't know, if we don't have husbands living at the time or whatever, can we live together?
Oh, yeah.
We could film our own episodes of The Golden
Girls Part 2. The real.
Part 2.
The real deal.
Golden Girls Part 2. More vodka.
And cheesecake.
I don't know. By then, I think I'll be out of alcohol to drink, to be able to drink. Okay. So, of course, like any set, there was a little bit of tension, but it was mostly just point of view, I think. So, B's son said when they shot the sitcom, sometimes they had to stop. So, they did shoot it in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
And my mom, B, would stay concentrated, maybe stay backstage, stand in her place there. And sometimes Betty would go out and smile and chat with the audience and literally go and make friends with the audience, which is a nice thing. A lot of them have come from all over the country and are fans. I think my mom didn't dig that. B was more stoic, more serious. And I think it's because Betty came from TV, where B came from theater.
Yeah.
She didn't break that fourth wall.
Yeah.
That's the audience out there. You don't engage with the audience. And Betty was all about engaging with the audience.
Yeah. I mean, she was on game shows for most of her professional career, right? And it's all about, like, hamming it up and interacting with the audience and, all of that. Well, and the fact that she would freaking climb ladders and do, like, warm-ups with the audience, like, when she first started out. Like, she's always been one to interact with the fourth wall.
Exactly. And I want a time machine for this, too. Because I want to meet Betty White when she was, like, young and climbing ladders to talk to the audience. So, he also said, and I'm saying this because there's, you know, there's these rumors that Betty and B, like, didn't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
They just had different energies, different styles
and that's
of
fine.
acting.
They're different people.
And yeah, and sometimes, you know, Betty even said B might get frustrated with me because I'm just so bubbly and happy all the time, and B was more of a stoic person, and that's fine. And B's son went on to say, it's just, she didn't like to talk between scenes to fans,
mm-hmm.
but Betty was able to do it, and it didn't seem to affect her at all. It just rubbed his mom the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no fighting at all. They were friends. At one point, they lived close enough that they would drive each other to work.
Aw.
I know.
And, like, if you don't like your co-star, you're not going to sit with them alone in a car.
No, and they would all wait for each other to be done with scenes so they could, like, go to lunch together.
Aww.
And it was amazing.
Aww.
I know.
And you can tell, like, the reason that the Golden Girls is so successful and that it lasted so long is that the actors all had good chemistry with each other. Like, if they hated each other and they didn't have good chemistry, like, that's obvious. Like, the audience can tell. Especially a live audience would be able to tell. And that
you can feel the energy in the room.
And it wouldn't have been as successful if they didn't at least like each other.
Yeah.
Aww.
Oh, but they loved each other. There was one story where apparently Rue, like, when they were done with a scene, say they're sitting at the table doing their, like, cheesecake thing, they're sitting at the table. If they were done with a scene, you know, in a lot of sitcoms, they'll get up and go to their trailer, go do whatever they need. They would just sit around and start chit-chatting, start gabbing. And there was one story where she was like, yeah, Ruth started telling us how she's going to leave her husband and everything, and they all kind of looked up at the same time and realized the mics were still on.
Oh, no!
And she went, oh, no, I haven't even told my mom yet.
And you just told the studio audience. Oh, no! Poor Rue.
I know. So funny. Okay, so 1992, B decides that she's leaving the Golden Girls, so the Golden Girls wraps up, and you know, she just knew it was kind of time for her, and that's cool. So of course Betty doesn't stop. She continues to do things, but she had a bit of a boost there in her later life. So she was on the roast of William Shatner in 2006.
Oh my god. Oh, I want to see that. I feel like I've seen a clip from it, but I definitely want to see that.
I am going to read you a quote.
Oh my god.
Of what she said to poor Mr. William Shatner. Oh, Bill, all your friends are either dead or they hate you. To be fair, I'm a little of column A and a little of column B. But you look great. You know they make 1% milk now. Darling, you were supposed to explore the galaxy, not fill it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, that is scathing.
What an amazing human. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's a good roast.
It's such a good roast. I want to watch the rest of it.
You know, like, I definitely do too. And I like watching roasts. I make fun of myself. Well, I make fun of myself more than anyone ever has. Yeah. And so, like, I like the spirit of roasts, being able to poke fun at yourself. But some people just say things and I'm like, that's mean, but it's not funny. If you can add, like, even a little bit of self-deprecating humor to someone, like, you roasting someone else, I think that makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
And she managed to do that very skillfully. She's like, yeah, I'm a little bit dead, and yeah, I hate you a little bit, but you're great.
Yeah.
You look great.
You look great. You know they make 1% milk now.
It's so fucking funny.
You know, apparently the audience was like not expecting sweet little Betty White. They should know by now.
Yeah, she's been on TV since the 40s.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fucking funny.
So, do you remember in 2010 the Snickers commercial for the Super Bowl?
Where they're doing like pickup football.
Yeah, where they were like, dude, what is wrong with you right now? You're playing like Betty White. And Betty White is on the ground covered in mud holding a football. And she's like, that's not what your mom or your girlfriend said last night or something like that.
And then someone tackles her. It's so funny.
Oh my god, that was 2010. She was 88 years old.
It's so fucking funny. I know I keep saying that. I have no other words to describe it.
I know, she's so fucking funny.
Oh my god.
So, she also hosted SNL in 2010 at 88 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it made her the oldest host in the show's history.
I bet she was super proud of that.
Oh, she was. She also, this was her, I guess, manager said this. Thursday, Betty looked at me with a look I've never seen before, and she says, never again. Because apparently SNL is like, no shit. It's a hard week.
It is. I read a book by one of the Colin Jost, who does Weekend Update. He has a memoir, and he talks a lot about SNL, and it's grueling.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. But maybe, and he said, maybe I pushed her a little too far and a little too much because I was pushing her out of her comfort zone. And then she said it, she looked, went right back to regular Betty White right after she said it. Pro that she was.
Mm-hmm.
She just pushed through. She didn't do SNL again. But there's a quote in here somewhere that said she was the only host to ever get a standing ovation at the after party of SNL. Oh. Yeah.
Oh.
I know. And then also in 2010, she had a busy year in 2010.
Yeah, she did. She's in several movies, I remember.
Oh, yeah. So she starred in Hot in Cleveland. It was
yeah, I remember
show.
that show, yeah.
And she insisted, she's like, I'm going to be in the pilot. Maybe you can have me on every now and then. I do not want to be a regular. I'm too old for this shit, basically.
She's almost 90.
Yeah, well, the show got picked up, and then she became a regular anyway at 88 years old.
Oh my god.
And she said, I have the backbone of a jellyfish. I'd say I was a pushover if I wasn't so delighted. That's what she said about getting the thing.
And I didn't really watch Hot in Cleveland. It wasn't really like my genre that I like to watch. Yeah. But wasn't her role like kind of similar to her Mary Tyler Moore role, where she was like kind of promiscuous and flirty and
I don't know. I never, you know me, I don't watch anything ever.
Yeah. I only watch like the trailers and stuff, and I think I watched one episode, and I think she was the only thing that made me laugh in the show.
Yeah. Probably. Because she's hilarious. Mm-hmm. But she said, what absolutely boggles my mind is that I find myself in yet another hit series, having a ball with a wonderful cast and crew, One of those in a lifetime is a blessing. 2 of them is a privilege. But 3 out of 3, I owe someone big time.
Aww.
She's very sweet. And then, and then she had, I have to read this. I don't even know where exactly it fits. But she was accepting an award, and her acceptance speech was, I look out here and everybody is famous. And I've had the privilege of knowing many of you and working with some of you. I've even had a few of you. You know who you are. She deadpan said that. And then George Clooney took the podium after her. And as Betty is walking back to her chair, he looked over at her, and George Clooney said, and while I'm here, I'd like to thank Betty White for her discretion.
That's so fucking funny. I've even had a few of you. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Oh, that's a knee slapper right there.
So, some activism in her life.
Yeah.
So the Betty White show that I mentioned earlier, that was in 1954, was actually kind of quietly canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had a black performer on there. And when the show, he was a tap dancer, I believe. When the show aired in the South, of course, people started boycotting it because of him. And she said there was a whole ruckus. They were going to take our show off the air if we didn't get rid of Arthur because he was black. Evidently, through the South at that point, it was a very heavy thing. So I said, I'm sorry, but, he stays. Mm-hmm. Live with it.
Yeah.
So, no one actually outright canceled the show, but they kind of moved the time slots until the viewership was so low that it got, cut.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But she stood her ground. So
yeah, it's not like she is just like the host, right? Like she's not actually in charge of the show. She's not in charge of production and like air times and all that.
No. But I mean, I guess she would have final say.
Yeah.
But no. But she's like, I'm not letting that happen to him.
What's good for her?
She actually gave him more airtime.
What a hot shit.
I know.
Good for her and good for Arthur, but that really sucks for the show as a whole.
It does. Yeah, it only aired for a year because of that, her stance on that. But apparently she interviewed with Larry King one day, and he asked I guess her opinion on the like LGBTQ community. And she said, quote, I don't care who you sleep with. It's what kind of a human being are you? I don't understand why people are anti-gay. It's such a personal, private business, and it's none of mine. So, yeah. And most of all, she was a huge animal activist. So in 1971, she started the show Pet Set, where she actually brought wild animals onto set to show like the audience, and then she had her celebrity friends bring their pets on. She supported multiple animal foundations, and she even said that her love of animals is why she never really retired, because charity work is expensive.
It is expensive, yeah.
Yeah. So the awards that she has won over her very successful career. I'm just going to name off the ones she won, because she won 27 and she was nominated for 57.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Funniest female performer in a TV series for the Golden Girls in 1987. 1990, Lifetime Achievement Award in Comedy. 2000, funniest female guest appearance on a TV series for Ally McBeal. 2010, Charlie Chaplin Britannica Award for Excellence in Comedy. 2011, Best Actress in a TV Comedy, which is Hot in Cleveland. 2009, Disney Legend. And then, let's see, 1975, Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series for the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She won that again in 1976. In 1986, Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series for the Golden Girls. 1996, Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series, The John LeCrette Show. I don't know how to say that. 2010, Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series, SNL. 1983, Outstanding Game Show Host for Just Men. And 2015, Lifetime Achievement. That was an honor. In 1952, the Los Angeles Emmy Award for Outstanding Personality for Life with Elizabeth. In 2011, Best Actress in a Comedy Series, Hot in Cleveland. 2011, Best Spoken Word Recording, If You Ask Me, and of course you won't. That's her, memoir.
Oh, okay.
Title, If You Ask Me, and of course you won't. In 1986, Female Star of the Year. In 2015, TV Icon. 2011, Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Comedy Series for Hot in Cleveland. She won that again in 2012. 2010, Best Dance with, and this is the Teen Choice Awards. I guess I have not been actually naming the award titles, so
that's
sorry
okay.
about that.
Am I imagining this? Was she on Dancing with the Stars? Or am I hallucinating this?
I have no idea.
I'm going to Google.
I'm going to Google. And you Google. Okay. Best Dance with Sandra Bullock in The Proposal, which is the funniest fucking movie ever. In 2003, Quintessential Non-Traditional Family for the Golden Girls. 2004, Groundbreaking Show, Mary Tyler Moore Show. 2008, Pop Culture Award for the Golden Girls. And 2015, a Legendary Award. 2011, Comedian. 1987, Best Actress in a Quality Comedy Series, Golden Girl. She won that in 87 and 88. And then 2021, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And in 1995, Star on the Walk of Fame.
That's awesome. Also, apparently she was invited to perform on Dancing with the Stars, but she turned it down in 2010.
At 88 years old? Man, 2010 was such a busy year for her.
It really was. She was like, I'm almost 90. Let me be.
No, my hips hurt. Okay, so we're going to look into some reflections and some quotes from her life. So in regards to her not having children, she said, quote, I've never regretted it. I'm so compulsive about stuff. I know if I had ever gotten pregnant, of course, that would have been my whole focus. But I didn't choose to have children because I'm focused on my career. And I just don't think, as compulsive as I am, that I could manage both.
And that's very fair. I mean, she knows herself
Totally
and
fair.
She wanted to have a career.
Yep. She does hold the Guinness Book of World Records holder for having the longest TV career as a female entertainer.
Yeah.
So her and Lucille Ball were actually close friends, which I could totally see that.
100%, yeah.
And in a time where it was unfeminine to be funny, Betty was quoted by saying, "No, it's too much fun to get that laugh."
And the fact that she was friends with Lucille Ball, I bet they fucking just like tore up everything. Like,
oh, and she was friends with Carol Burnett too.
Oh my god. Oh, can you imagine the three of them? You'd be disintegrated into dust.
That's when, like, your abs hurt, you're laughing so
yeah,
hard.
like, you literally pass away because you die from laughing.
Yeah. Someone asked her once if there was anything that she hasn't done in her career that she would like to do, and she said, yes, Robert Redford.
It's so fucking funny.
You know, and she said, I've been around for so long, Alan used to say I was a pioneer in silent television.
Oh, I'm glad that he could dish it back.
Oh, me too. And she also said, if I haven't done what I wanted to do, it's my own fault. But then I picked out some other good quotes. Animal lover that I am, a cougar I am not. All my life, even as a kid, I have preferred men older than I am. Unfortunately, today, I don't think there is anyone older than I am.
Oh, man.
This one's heartwarming. So I really do believe the positive approach beats the negative. Everyone has something good they can hang on to. You have to focus on the good stuff and celebrate the good times. And that's on grief.
Yeah.
Her view on grief.
Yeah.
This one's on staying healthy, and this is solid, okay? I'm a health nut. My favorite food is hot dogs with French fries. And my exercise, I have a 2-story house and a very bad memory, so I'm up and down those stairs. Some tips from Betty. Quote, get at least 8 hours of beauty sleep. 9 if you're ugly.
Oh my god, this is so fucking funny.
People have told me, Betty, Facebook is a great way to keep in touch with old friends. At my age, if I wanted to keep in touch with old friends, I'd need a Ouija board.
Oh my god.
So we all know, if you don't know, I don't know how you don't know, but she died like 2 weeks before she was supposed to turn 100 years old.
Yeah.
And they had like this big televised thing, and it just...
I mean, everyone was preparing to celebrate her 100th birthday. Yes. Like, everyone was getting ready for it.
They literally had to switch gears to turn it to, like, a Memorial Day instead.
And you know what? Like, I feel like it is completely within Betty's personality to be like, you thought you were going to celebrate my 100th birthday, assholes?
Yeah. Do you want to know what her last word was? Because I didn't know this. It was Alan. Her husband.
Oh, that's gonna make me cry. Oh.
I know.
Oh, that made me cry. Oh.
She was going to see him.
Stop it!
I'm sorry.
Oh no. I'm crying now.
Okay.
Oh man.
So what do people have to say about her? Remembering Betty.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you stop crying now. She's funny just being herself. She has this air about her that says, I don't give a shit. And I love that. That's why I'm swearing in honor of her.
Aww.
Yep. If the fabulous Miss Betty White has taught me anything, it's the value of a positive attitude. She has chosen happiness. Sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do about sagging, but what's inside can shine through at any age. She's living proof of that. Sandra Bullock said, I don't drink vodka, but I will tonight on ice with a slice of lemon with a hot dog on the other side and just be okay being sad. I have to buy some rose-colored glasses because Betty was that for all of us.
Aww.
And then Ryan Reynolds said, the world looks different now. She was great at defying expectation. She managed to grow very old and somehow not old enough. We will miss you, Betty. Now you know the secret.
Oh.
And then the best quote.
Okay.
Betty lived life devoted to her craft and her love of animals. She made us all laugh, including me. I had a crush on her too, Robert Redford.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
I read that in this magazine and I was like, no.
That's hilarious. Oh, I am never going to emotionally recover from hearing what her last word was ever in my life.
I am not either.
That's literally like I just took D20 damage to my soul.
Yeah. No. Cannot. Her last word was just Alan.
I'm just now like I'm like I have that mental picture of her like almost 100 and just being like, all right, I'm gonna see the love of my life again. Oh, I'm gonna cry again.
She lived like 40 years without him.
I know. I never remarried. Oh.
When you've had the best, you don't need the rest.
Like, and that's crazy. Like, they were married 18 years.
Yeah.
She, like, lived most of her life.
Yeah.
Aww.
She said her only regret in life was saying no to him so many times because it wasted a year with him.
Aww.
Yeah. And they always had a pet. There's so many pictures of her with just like this one. Just them and their dogs.
Aww. Cute. Is that a little poodle?
I know, yeah. Yeah, poodle. And like a mutt.
Yeah. Puppy.
A good puppers.
Well,
So,
thank you for being a
you're
friend.
welcome. Travel down the road and back again.
Yes. My heart is true.
You're a pal and a confidant.
And if you threw... I'm just kidding.
And invited everyone you knew.
Well, thank you for covering this episode of Betty White. I was actually wondering when one of us would eventually cover her.
Yeah, it's been on the list for a while.
Yeah, I feel like it was one of the first things. I haven't even looked at the list since like last year. But I remember it being on the list of people to cover eventually.
I pop in every now and then when I don't really know exactly what direction I want to go in, and then, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
If y'all hear my cat, I'm so sorry. He's very noisy today.
And he's very needy.
He's very needy.
Well, thank you. It was such a delight hearing and learning more about Betty White. You did a great job.
And how, she's just been up to whatever the hell she wanted to from the get-go.
Yeah. She always did what
She's
she
like,
wanted to do.
I'm just gonna be a TV host, and I ain't killing that damn chicken.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Just married a guy for 6 months just because she wanted to sleep.
They just wanted to sleep together, and they did, and then she got out of there.
She said I wasn't.
So funny.
We were married for 6 months, and we were in bed for 6 months.
That's so funny. Aw.
It's probably the least productive 6 months of that man's life.
That's why she had to go kill all the chickens. He was a husk of a man lying in bed like,
Chocolate!
Chocolate! I always hated chocolate! Oh, man. Rest in peace, Betty White.
Yes, rest in peace, Betty. DMX loved the Golden Girls? Sorry, Nick just came in. He's been listening to us. And just said DMX used to watch the Golden Girls on his tour bus.
That's awesome.
Say what? Get emotional about it. I love DMX. Okay. So if
do you want to do socials first?
Yeah, it's like we're forgetting something. Okay, so you can find us on Facebook
at Ill-Equipped History Podcast group and page.
So we said Facebook, right?
Yes.
Instagram
at Ill-Equipped History.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/Ill-Equipped History, or $5 a month. You can get bonus episodes.
Gmail.
Ill-equippedhistory@gmail.com.
And TikTok
at Ill-Equipped History. Emily makes very funny videos.
I try. And I guess, be more like Betty.
Yeah. Channel Betty White into your everyday life.
Yeah.
And maybe you too can live to 99 years old.
And just do it, Betty. What would Betty do?
WWBD. What would Betty do?
Okay.
Okay, bye!